what I didn't realize was most people can read a book, they can read a spreadsheet. Most people with any level of intelligence can look at the building blocks of a business and put it together. And where I thought I was going to go and fix businesses, what I do has far more to do with breaking the entrepreneur apart and pulling that entrepreneur to pieces, stripping them back to their foundations.
Samuel, my friend, welcome to the Point of Impact.
Aaron, thank you so much for having me, man. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk to you today, mate.
Well, I'm glad to speak to you again. This time, you're on Point of Impact versus me being on Small Business Surgeon. How the turns have tabled.
Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate you agreeing to come on and share your story with my audience. And speaking of which, you are the host of a Small Business Surgeon, and you're yourself an entrepreneur. You're a small business coach, consultant, and uh, eh, eh, you say you help you build, scale, structure, scale, and sell small businesses. Can you tell me a little bit more about the service you provide?
Yeah. So it stems back to my I am statement that when I decided to create my ideal life and who I wanted to become, because I was so tired of working myself around in circles. And so I figured out what I wanted to be, and we can get into all of that later. But what I do, I am a world class business consultant, mentor, and leader. And I give entrepreneurs the tools that they need to utilize in their lives to start living their dream, utilizing their business. Because isn't that the reason we all got into business anyway? It was so we didn't have to have a boss. It was so we could do what we were told. It was so we could make money doing the things we love to do. And yet, so many of us struggle. And it's like every other thing. Everybody looks all right on the outside. Everybody looks like they've got it together. And it wasn't until I started hosting business owners networking groups for the pure reason to meet more business owners. I had no intention of like helping them or consulting them or anything. And it was in listening to their stories and realizing they were struggling with demons that I'd already beaten. They were struggling with levels that I'd already conquered. And hearing that, it led me to think, wait a minute, you can have an impact here. You can help these people that are struggling. And it came right at the beginning of COVID. It came when there was a whole bunch of people needed help. And there has been a lot of hard work ever since. And there has been a lot of intention with the brand ever since. But when I say the brand was unintentional, it came about purely by accident, Aaron. I just listened to the audience around me that was struggling, and I said, "Hold on, I can help these guys. I can lead these guys." And so, completely unintentional, and yet now 3 years later, obviously built with a lot of intent. But I like helping people, man, and there's no reason for business owners to suffer. It's very hard when you're on your own, but it's really not that hard when you've got some guidance.
So, as a small business surgeon, I'm guessing your clients, take a look at their business, you look for the symptoms, and
Yeah.
and do you have a particular model you help put them into, or is every case different? What are some of the? Let me also, maybe a better question is, what are some of the more common challenges or problems small business owners face?
Um, like it's so strange that you asked this because when I first initially started consulting, I went through a couple of different, three really, different business building tutorials, courses, and stuff. Now, of course, I started my first business when I was about 12. Mowing yards, paper routes, selling candy at school. Um, but what I thought was going to happen was I would come in and I'd be like, right, here's your operating procedures, here's what we've got to fix, here's what we've got to do with marketing, here's what we've got to do with the people, here's all of it. I thought it was all business related. And there's so many books on business and how to operate businesses. And what I didn't realize was most people can read a book, they can read a spreadsheet. Most people with any level of intelligence can look at the building blocks of a business and put it together. And where I thought I was going to go and fix businesses, and I walk in and I've got my sharp pencils and I've got my ruler and I've got my laptop and I'm sitting down ready to break this business apart. Um, what I do has far more to do with breaking the entrepreneur apart and pulling that entrepreneur to pieces, stripping them back to their foundations, which was a complete shock for me. Yeah, I had no idea 3 years ago when I started that that was how this worked. But the common problems all exist within the entrepreneur's heads. Every single one of you that starts a business, you have the wherewithal to open a book and read how to do stuff. You can Google how to do stuff. You can look it up if you're resourceful. There's not a business problem out there that the answer isn't readily available for. But the mind of the entrepreneur and the things they hear from the people around them and the way they perceive themselves and the way they perceive their company and the goals that they set for themselves and the goals they have for their company, all these things are the things I'm finding that are broken. So as opposed to and dude, laying in structure for business and laying out SOPs for things. I know SOPs and KPIs are huge buzzwords. They're not complicated. You can SOP pretty much anything into specific detail and make it something that somebody can follow. And what I've discovered is that small businesses, especially, are a very, very accurate reflection of the internal conflict that the business owner themselves is living through. And it shocked me. It shocked me completely. Again, I thought I was just going to be going in and fixing processes. I had no idea I would spend so much time not necessarily fixing people, but maybe guiding people, maybe pushing people down the right path, maybe just making sure there was a little barrier there so they couldn't make those mistakes. But it's all in the head. And if you'd have told me I would have been saying that 3 years ago, I would have chuckled at you and said, "Right, Aaron, go on, off you go, mate." No, I would not have believed it. I am a very much, if you can see it on a spreadsheet, it exists. I'm very, very rigid about systems and processes. And honestly, Aaron, everything I've discovered through teaching is that the secret that everybody's looking for, the big thing that everybody wants, mate, it's just in your head. That's it. And so my job is unlocking that stuff out of people's heads and teaching them the systems and processes I use to implement it in their business so they can actually have a business and not have just a cage that's, 80 hours a week's worth of suck.
So this isn't just like training or an operations guide you hand over to uh, the business owner. You consider yourself a fractional CMO, and so you actually you roll your sleeves up and get into this and set it up and all that. And I one of the biggest I think what was it Field of Dreams with a quote that build it and they will come might be the worst quote ever for a business owner because it's not true. You could have this the storefront, whether virtual or brick and mortar, and have all the product you want. Yeah, anybody can handle. Open the doors and
Yeah.
wait. But it's not true. You need to let the people know. We need the customers to know. So tell me, how do you do this? How do manage customer relations? How do you how do you find the customers for these businesses?
I don't find the customers. What I do is I teach the businesses how to attract the customers so that customers find the business. So instead of going out there and putting out a repetitive message saying, I've got something to sell, buy it, buy it, buy it. I go out and I teach them to put out educational and engaging and entertaining messages that make people say, "Ooh, these people have something to sell. I'm going to go buy that." So what I teach people, Aaron, is attraction based marketing. We create an authority figure within the business, and generally it's an owner or an owner's kid or somebody that's going to be around for quite some time. It's normally for me with small businesses, it's normally the owner because the owner's got the name on the door. They're the main practitioner and stuff. So we turn that owner into a superhero. Essentially, we turn them into a point of authority within their local market specific to their skill set. And so, for example, if it was a real estate agent that I was working with, I would have the real estate agent be active on social media, and I would have them making content that was educational, engaging, entertaining, and posting it every day. And about 1 out of 5 videos just happening to mention, oh, hey, we have a house for sale. And what happens is slowly over time, I put that real estate agent in front of podcasts. I have that agent host their own show, a local What's On show, and they go around and once a week interview business owners. And what that does is when you're going on podcasts and when you're hosting podcasts, you're viewed by the audience as a figure of authority, and you have the window to speak with authority and then prove and validate that that is what you are. And so by training these guys to go into their specialist skill sets and become authorities on that, especially in their local market, because it's much easier to become a local authority than it is a national one. And again, we're dealing mainly with small businesses. But by turning them into an attractive, likable character, we take into account that what generates a sale is knowing someone, liking them, and trusting them enough to give them money. So we're constantly working on the know, like, trust factor with the clients that we coach. And so it turns them into the authority. People automatically know them, like them, and trust them because, hey, I'm going to watch this, 2-minute video about a restaurant that this guy's interviewing the owner of. Well, you send the realtor to do the interview, and the realtor becomes the authority. And so that's generally how attraction based marketing works. Now, I've been doing business 25 years. So some businesses, they're not going to use attraction based marketing. Or let's say, for example, you've got a car dealership. They're going to use attraction based marketing for one or two of their salesmen. They're going to make one or two of those guys like the go-to authority on cars in that marketplace. But then also they're going to have to look at Google ads. They're going to have to look at their SEO. They're going to have to look at their Facebook and Instagram ads. And then you also have the trouble of, well, now I've got an ad. Where does it go when I click it? And so you click the ad, it goes to what's known as a landing page. Most small businesses make the mistake of sending an ad straight to a website. A website is more of a static business card. A landing page is an active page that draws the viewer through it to a sales conclusion and get them to take a call to action. And then you've got to look at, where does the customer data go? You've got to look at, do these guys have a CRM? Do they know how to spell CRM? Like most small businesses, especially with, you see, we're unique, Aaron, in that like we've got 1 foot in digital and 1 foot in analog. Like we were the last of the analog guys, so we can relate to guys that work off of a pen and paper, but we can move freely through the digital world. And it's shocking to me how many businesses don't have any customer data, any customer organization, any way to retarget or revisit customers or send them an email or anything. And I work with $1 million businesses. Like, for example, a bar chain. They've got 5 bars and no customer list. Like, they spend all their advertising money on Facebook ads that go straight to their website. No way to collect data, no offers, no incentives, nothing there to have the customer take action to put their data in to receive something of value from the business. These are all, like, they're simple for me because I've been doing it so long. But when you're a small business owner and you're the guy answering the phone, you're the guy painting the walls, you're the guy, whatever it is that you're doing, you're that man of action. You've got to go to the jobs and do the plumbing, and then you've got to come back and you've got to do the bookkeeping. And you don't have a minute to think about, hey, how could I make this a little bit easier on myself? Because you are just going in order to pay bills. And I know it sounds out there, but when you're working in a business and you just started it, 80% of people that do that, their goal is, I want to work for myself. I don't care. I want to make enough money to pay the bills. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to make enough money to pay the bills. And guess what happens, mate? Every single month, they run out of money, but they just make it. Oh, they just make it. We made it. Because why? Because they set that goal. I need to pay my bills. And so at the beginning of the month, every action that they took moved them towards paying their bills, but it didn't move them any further than that. And so if your bills are 10 grand a month and all the action you take all month long is leading you to a revenue target of 10 grand, you're going to hit it every single time. And yet when I go in and sit with a business owner and say, well, what's your dream look like? And most people's dreams that I end up working with, most people's dreams are between 25 and 50 grand a month. Okay. And so 25 grand a month, you break it down, let's use round numbers. It's $1,000 a day. I got to make $1,000 a day. Okay. And so when your goal is $10,000 a month, you take a job, you take another job, you take another job, and you end up with 10 grand. But when you tell me your goal is 25 grand a month, I say, okay. And I break it down. I say, right, we need $1,000 a day. How much revenue and how much profit comes off each job? Well, each job has $100 profit. Okay, so we need to do 10 jobs in a day to make $1,000 to get you to 25,000. How do we do 10 jobs in a day? Well, I can't. Okay, so then let's look at adjusting pricing. Let's look at the target audience. Let's look at who we're selling to. Because I'll use the example of house painter. Anybody in blue collar. Who's your ideal client? Oh, anybody that needs a house painted. Wrong. Okay, because anybody that needs house painting is shopping on price. So it takes the same effort to find a customer in a $500,000 house as it takes to find a customer in a $150,000 house. A $150,000 house has the same number of corners on the outside. I mean, you know, and you still got to drive out there. You got to bring your trucks. You got to bring your ladders. You got to get everything set up. So what's the difference between painting a $150,000 house and a $500,000 house? The $500,000 house pays you more. And so a lot of people are scared to make those level of adjustments. But if you doubled your price and lost half your customers, where would you be? You'd be in the exact same spot financially, but you'd only have half the amount of work to do during a month. So if I go and find guys that have $500,000 homes and I start doing $5,000 paint jobs, my margins are far better than the $150,000 home where the owner's asking for a discount and all I can get out of him is $1,500. It's the same job. It's the same paint. And that applies throughout business. Every single business. The more money I charge, the better quality client I can work with, the better quality materials I can use, the better quality staff I can hire, and the better quality service I can provide. Okay. And so I teach business owners essentially to sell on value and not sell on price. And when there is a price objection, overcome that with value. And that's how we do it. And then you don't end up chasing your tail, man, because you will always make the amount of money you set out to make.
It almost sounds like you're espousing fractional was it CFO services as well. it sounds like was that profit first. Yeah, I just set out to pay the bills, and well, that's all I got. But I was thought you were going to say, start taking revenue first. But yeah, it's an excellent point, and I think I'm sure what you're talking about there is building that brand, right? You know, painting your service or yourself as someone who paints a $500,000 home, so to speak. But one is that through the what you were talking about, the marketing, the social media, podcasting, that kind of thing, making yourself the authority on, using the same example, $500,000 homes. And how do you? I think you mentioned on one of your podcast episodes, or perhaps it was on your website. You mentioned creating a standalone brand for the business or product. How it is a balance, because what you're describing is setting yourself up as the authority and building the brand. To use my business, Extraordinary Delights, the fudge company, uh, that brand is my story. The brand is me. So, in what you were saying, your structure, scale, and sell this business. I couldn't. I mean, not that I have any intention of doing so. I couldn't sell the fudge business because the fudge business is me.
Well, yeah. So if you wanted to build that brand, okay, the first thing I would ask you, Aaron, is what is your vision for the fudge company, and how much money would you like to make?
Okay, so once you set up a revenue goal, how does that relate to? I mean, it's a balance between who you're talking to or who you're advertising to.
Yes. So we're going to engineer your reality right now. We'll do it right now. Okay. Is there a number in mind you want to hit, or should I just pick one out of the sky? I'll show you how it works. Is it you have a number you would like to hit, or would you just like me to pick one? Because I will show you exact. I'll walk you through it step by step how we.
So we're setting the revenue goal.
Yeah.
Set a revenue. Let's say $10,000 a month.
So you want to do $10,000 a month of fudge sales. Okay. The first thing you have to ask, and look, I know this sounds completely elementary. The first thing you have to ask is, how do I sell $10,000 worth of fudge every month? Okay. So now you're going to know the cost of your fudge. And I'm just going to use simple numbers. Your fudge is $5. Okay. So if we've got to sell $10,000 worth of $5 fudge, what do we got to sell? We got to sell 2,000 fudges, right? To put 10 grand in revenue, we got to do 2,000 in sales, 2,000 physical units, right? And so now you got to ask, what's the easiest way to make 2,000 sales in fudge? Who is buying my fudge? Why are they buying it? Where are they buying it from? What do they want with it? How often are they eating it? Is it a gift? Is it consumables? Who's buying this? And how? How am I going to sell 2,000 of them this month? And then maybe you go find a couple of fudge companies. And you go, well, these guys have a national fudge brand. And these guys do. And these guys are selling 50,000 fudges a month. Well, what do they do? And so then you go and analyze a company that's performing at or above the level that you're looking to operate at. So you're trying to make 10 grand a month selling fudge. We need to sell 2,000 fudges. Well, that could be as simple as putting together a pitch deck and a sample kit and finding retail distributors that will onboard your fudge into specific grocery stores and supermarket chains all across the country. But wait, they want 50,000 a month. Well, you can't do that many orders. So now we've got to have and reverse engineer the logistics. Well, if I were to get in these stores, but you have to imagine yourself, I'm going to sell 50,000 pieces of fudge this month. How am I going to do it? But until you say to yourself, how am I going to sell 2,000 pieces of fudge? How am I going to sell 5,000? How am I going to sell 10,000? You'll never answer that question and you'll never sell it. This doesn't just fall out the sky and people magically start buying shit from you. You can't just put a sign out and say fudge for sale and skip on down the road. You have to think strategically about number one, how much fudge do I need to sell to live my goals through this company? Okay. I want to put 25 grand a month in my pocket after everything. So then you've got to know all of your bottom lines, all of your numbers, and what it's going to take to put 25 grand into your pocket after everybody's paid. And as the business grows, you need more staff. So the number goes up still to get to that 25 grand. But you build it all hypothetically in your mind. It's never right. It's never set in stone. Every time you go to market, you build something, you measure the results, you learn from the results, you build it, you measure, you learn every time, over and over and over. But the first place you have to build it is in your head. Because if I didn't set my goals to make $3 million a year in profits, I would be quite happy just bumming around at 200 grand, putting 15 grand a month in my pocket and just shooting pool and drinking beer. And that's not what I want out of life, man. I set my goals higher than that. And so, with you, with Fudge, with every business owner, as backward as it sounds, the most important part of all of this is figuring out what you're passionate about and what it is you actually want. And once you know that, if you know that you want to sell 10,000 boxes of fudge in a month, and you know that you can hit that goal by selling 350 boxes of fudge in a day, then your only problem isn't how do I become a millionaire? It's all right. What do I need to sell 350 boxes a day? I'm going to need some boxes. I'm going to need some fudge. I'm going to need some people stirring shit. And I'm going to need 350 sales a day. Where do I find all that stuff? And you just break it down into like obvious stages. But because it's so obvious, people don't see it. They chuckle about it. They go, what's all this mindset shit? But you will never make $1 million unless you set out to make $1 million. You'll always, that's it, dude.
Well, it's so funny because it just traces back to so many other lessons that I've been told on this podcast, and it's reverse engineer it. What do you want out of it, and how do you get there, and then what do you need to do day by day to do it? I just released another episode, a standalone, just a monologue about pacing yourself, and you just do the if you need it's like running a marathon, right? You just set minutes per mile, and over time, whatever that the does your designated time to distance is, you'll get there. So if you just break it down, how much do I need to sell, per month, per week, per day, and then how do I do that? So it's
that recipe,
but
that recipe works in every company. It's just the how is always different. And the how is where you go to the textbooks and you go to the manuals and you figure all that out. But it doesn't start until you've got the why and you've got the goal.
But you know what? Let's look at it from a higher order. Uh, you're setting up the sales projections. You're setting up these goals and systems, and you're scaling. But then, for you are helping design these businesses to be sold, and for a first time entrepreneur, business owner, they're just looking at a business as something to then second career or a first career, or for me it was just because I'm just plain unemployable, and that was before I lost my eyesight. But uh, I I love doing the entrepreneur thing. When I first heard about people helping others do what you're doing, build a business, get it, make it profitable, why sell?
Why do you chase pretty girls, man?
What's that?
I mean, why do you chase pretty girls? Um, it's the thrill, dude. It's the thrill. And if you can build one properly and sell it and just retain a little bit of royalty, and then when somebody's got a problem or a phone call, you can be on the end of the phone real quick and help them out. Um, my goal is to have 25 sold businesses within the next 5 years that I have royalties coming from each one. That the overriding mission is not to collect royalties. The overriding mission is to take every entrepreneur I touch and to help improve their business and help improve their life. And by that, by spreading that joy and by spreading the love and the appreciation and the positivity, I receive that from the universe. I firmly believe in karma. And the more good I do for business owners, the more good it does me. And it's a very, very, very small ask to get a little royalty on the backside of a business sale that will keep going for many years. And so I consider that a really good goal. But dude, building and it's about the thrill, dude. It's about the chase. It's about solving the problem and taking that business owner from their head in their hands, going, "Oh man, what's up?" to watching them. Like literally, I've had clients run $1 million months, like just within 9 months of us working together. I've got one guy right now. We went in. We spent about a week. Um, Teaching him and his staff the likable, attractive character, the YouTube, how to SEO YouTube, how to make the YouTube engage, all that stuff that we set up for him. And in the last year and a half, the guy's 4x his business. It's incredible to watch. You know, you can go to his channel now and he'll post a video, have 60,000 views within a couple of hours. And it's incredible. Just there's no feeling for me like that in the world. And that's what I want to do. I want to feel like that all the time. um it just I build them in order to sell them so that that guy can put the money in his bank and go start something else. It's the thrill of the chase. And there's plenty of people want to buy established businesses because to be fair, building them's pretty tricky. It's quite challenging. And
Well, I think I misphrased myself. I have no doubt your services are well worth the value of your services. Uh, I was wondering why an entrepreneur would want to build up a business in order to sell it versus hold on to it for the equity, the dividends, the revenue that it creates. Why it's like fix and flipping a house. But why would an entrepreneur want to sell their business?
um a lot of them don't, and that's okay too. You know, my goal, I've been an entrepreneur and I enjoyed it and it was wonderful, and I've been very, very blessed, and I've been struck by lightning a few times and knocked on my ass. And it doesn't matter how big you get, whether it's a $1 million deal or a $10 million deal or a $80 million deal, there's always something bigger to go play with. And for me, I enjoy conquering. I enjoy like oh man, about 6 months ago, I set my floor at $150,000 per project, and every project I've taken over the last 3 months has been over seven figures. And like I'm not talking about me getting paid that. I'm talking about like this is the business, this is what they're trying to achieve or what they're trying to start up or whatever. But by putting that floor in there, it makes the game more exciting. Now, in relation to the question, running a business is time consuming. It's until you're at the director level, it can be very, very stressful. And even if you are making several $1 million a year, most people, when they get to that point, they want their time back. And so by exiting the business and keeping a royalty and even owner finance in the business, you can get a little bit more money for it. Plus, you get those parachute payments every single month to where they can have their time. Because most guys that get to this level, they want that time. The time is the most important asset. And so I understand, and I've worked with guys that have the need to cling on and they want that. But at the end of the day, if you work at a business for 30 years, how much of your, and as a small business, if you don't make it publicly traded, if you're just there and it's Aaron's tire shop and you've worked at Aaron's tire shop for 30 years and you've got 6 employees and you want to retire, but you can't because all your assets are tied up in that tire shop. You say, my shop's worth $6 million. I got to sell it, but you can't because you're the guy that makes the tire shop run. And without you, it doesn't work because all the tire knowledge is in your head and all the systems are written down on paper and your wife does the books. Huh. You can't sell it. You can't get out of it. You've got a $6 million asset that is absolutely worthless without you there. That's where we come in. That's what I like to do, right? We take the guy's business, we'll systematize it for him, we'll set everything up for him, and we'll make sure that each one of his assets is replaceable. You can slide employees in and out. Somebody comes in. There's systems for everything, and now we don't need the owner. Now, when we go to a buyer, we say, "Hey, we've got a tire shop. It's got an owner that's willing to stay 6 months through the transition. It's got a manager that's trained. It's got books full of operating procedures. It's got great internet. It's got great foot traffic." And then it becomes an attractive proposition to either somebody that wants to come in and run their own business or an investor that's looking to add stuff to his portfolio. But if you were an investor and you wanted to add businesses to your portfolio, having a key man that is irreplaceable is an absolute death sentence on the sale of a business. Because if that key man goes, all the investor has is a building and some guys that may or may not show up. He has no idea how to run it. He doesn't have the contacts and connections. So a lot of people want to sell their business so they can get their time back because so much of their retirement assets and everything are tied up with the company. And so yeah, people do sell them. I like the chase. I like the thrill of the hunt. I like you said, like fixing and flipping. I've done about 15 houses in my day. I started off flipping houses in 2004, and now I do it with commercial buildings. It's a lot slower, but the percentages are much more in our favor. Um, but fixing and flipping stuff is really a motivator and a passion for me, and I do it with businesses and I do it with people. I don't flip the people, obviously, but it's what it is. You're going in and you're helping them to remodel. You're remodeling inside their brain. You're taking out the bad stuff. You're putting in nice fresh paint, clean walls, and a new couch for them to sit on. It's like you give them. I can't explain how amazing it feels just to be directly impactful. Like the only thing I have to think about is who can I help today. Like it's amazing.
That's fantastic. When you were talking about getting your time back, and I was thinking of when you're selling a business, and I just flashed. Do you remember the Wendy's commercials from the '80s and '90s with Dave Thomas, the founder, uh, actually in the advertisements? He'd sold Wendy's well before he became the spokesperson for it. So uh, it's one example of why I'd build a company up and sell it off. He's got plenty of time just to talk about it and be that friendly guy in front of the camera talking about it. But I want to be the Dave Thomas of fudge. But um,
Then do it. Then do it.
uh,
Then do it.
tell me, let's back up a little bit. How did you get to become? How did you become the small business surgeon? Who was Samuel Smith before? He was the surgeon.
Oh, how far back do you want to go?
Just enough.
So, just enough. Okay. So, in 2017, I was selling weight loss pills on the internet. I had been into internet marketing for about 9 years. I was very, very good at it. And I did everything that poor people think rich people do when they get money. And, the drinking was way out of control. And I made a lot of bad decisions that led to me losing that brand. And the most underlying problem I could think of was that the way I sold supplements was you will never run out of fat, gullible Americans to sell weight loss pills to. Just sell them because they're all fat and they're all gullible. And I never once ever considered the consumer on the other end. It was just numbers on a screen. We sold 150 units today for 15 grand in revenue. Great, let's go. It was just numbers, dude. I never once stopped to think about the person at the other end that was taking these pills, which did work. I mean, they were white label rebranded thermogens from GNC. I mean, they were above board. They worked. But they're sitting there taking the pill and eating pizza and drinking Coke and having beer, and they're not losing weight. And so I I lost that company. And just a side note, I approach all of my businesses now with serve the client, solve the problem, sell the solution. That's it. I won't have it any other way. We do not exchange money unless value of a greater amount than the money is exchanged first. That's it. Like I won't do it. I spent many years selling supplements to people on the internet that I didn't give two shits if they worked or not. There's always more people. Well, now I care about the outcome. So I'm floating around in 2017 and I needed something to do. And like all people who are completely lost, I went and got a real estate license. I was told I would make a good realtor, and I thought, well, let's give this a shot because I'd flipped 14, 15 houses at that point myself, and I knew what to do. And it was in real estate, and I was learning marketing, and one of my coaches told me to build a group, a local networking group that had nothing to do with real estate, but everything to do with something I loved and something I could talk about. And I thought, wow, let me start an entrepreneur group because I love that. And so I did. I started a local entrepreneurs group. And what happened was, again, much to my surprise, because I had the intent when I started the group was to help entrepreneurs and then to sell them real estate or commercial leases or whatever when they needed that. But what happened was over the first few weeks, I started inviting entrepreneurs to come meet me for coffee, and I'd have open coffee meetings. And dude, everybody just started opening up to me like they could trust me, like they knew me. And in reality, it was just because they were all struggling. They needed somebody to talk to. So I'm wasn't a business consultant at that time. I was just a guy selling real estate. Let's meet for coffee. And these guys end up pouring their hearts out to me. And so that's when it first dawned on me that like you can have an impact here with a business related podcast. And so still with no real intent of becoming a consultant, just with the intent of how do I positively impact these folks. um, I paid a lot of money and I took a podcast masterclass, and we went to Florida and we workshopped, and I came up with the small business surgeon. And to my shock, the Instagram was available, the Facebook was available, the website was available. I'm like, right then, that's what this is. And for the first, for the first year of doing it, it was me podcasting, me interviewing business owners, and me running a real estate company. Like, and I grew the real estate company. I blew it up. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. And I kept going back to my internet marketing days, and I'm knowing I can make seven figures a year working 20 hours a week, and I'm not getting that in real estate at all. And so I just thought, what am I going to do that is going to get me from this $200,000 a year real estate gig back to where I want to go? And what can I do that is going to fulfill me? And one thing I found that customers needed more than ever was media, and the ability to put media on the internet and to understand media and understand marketing. And I started to sell that, and it did really well. until when somebody puts up a video and it's an amazing video and it gets 5 views, then it's your fault because your video didn't make them any money. I'm like, well, no, it's your fault because you don't have an audience and your distribution channels didn't make any money. And that's when it really clicked. That's when I started to teach. Um, and instead of selling somebody a video or selling somebody a solution, what I ended up doing, I would go for a week and I would sit in that business and I would teach them how to do media and how to put CRMs up and how to put funnels together and how to actually do the online part of the business stuff. And that is how gradually over time I became the small business surgeon. It's because, again, I was selling them something that didn't work. I'm selling them the wonderful marketing videos, and they're spending 10, 15, $20,000 a video. And the guys that had it together, the guys that had distribution, the guys that got the views, they would come to me again and again and again for content. And it was really through seeing the people pay me and not get results that made me scratch my head even more. So what can I do that is more impactful than what I'm doing? If they're going to pay me 30 grand, there better be 50 grand's worth of results. Like, because if they pay you 30 grand and you take their 30 grand and you don't deliver, then that's not good business, man. That's not how you get second. That's not how you get referrals. And it's not how you help people win. And so, like, yeah, I just, the intent to become a consultant and an accountability mentor and a leader, it was never there. I just saw the need and I said, I can do that. Let me put on my hat, let me roll up my sleeves and let me go to work and have an impact. And so that's all I do now. It's wonderful.
So, do you mention spending all this money on particular videos? Yeah, what is the what are some of the secrets? Like, what are some of the tips for generating more views, more likes, more shares, to really getting the content out to their particular customer?
That is very tricky and not that's not something we cover on this. So let's say YouTube, for example. Like, dude, there's platform specific answers, there's content specific answers, and then there's audience specific answers. Um, so backing up, I think the biggest problem you have to solve is nobody asks who's watching this, why are they watching it, what are they looking for. Nobody asks that. They just want to make a cool commercial about their truck, like, or they want to make a cool like. But why are they watching it? Who's watching it? We can make cars go round corners and chase people with drones and do all kinds of fancy stuff. But who's the target market, and what are they going to resonate with, and what's going to make them commit their attention span for the length of this video? And of course, that's where you see all the tricks like, oh, we got this, and this. Stay tuned to the end for something you won't believe, right? And then the longer the video plays, the higher it moves up in the algorithm. But for me, one of the easiest ones that we fix a lot of is keywords and hashtags. Um, nobody, geez, especially Zennials and Boomers. Sorry, Zennials and Gen Xers. They just don't use them. And what they don't realize is that all the content that goes out on the internet is sorted through by this software. They call it the algorithm. There's a bunch of different ones, but it's just this sorting software in order to see where to put it, who to show it to, and who's going to respond the best to it. And so if you're following, hashtag fudge makers, and everybody that is following that hashtag likes videos of fudge, you should put hashtag fudge makers in your videos at the bottom of the screen there. But there's all kinds of hashtag tools. YouTube has a really good tool called TubeBuddy that I use religiously. And TubeBuddy not only helps suggest keywords, but it also shows you where the keywords rank and what the best words are for the video position. And man, there's just we could do a whole day covering the nuances of the different platforms and the content of the video. And you have to remember that each video has to serve a specific purpose. If it's a sales video, it's got to take them on a journey and come to a conclusion. You know, if it's an educational video, it's got to keep them engaged. It's got to keep, like, there's so much about it when you're battling 6 to 8 second attention spans. And so, like, I still don't know what it takes to make a video go viral. I've had a couple of them go viral, and then, you know, I'll check stats the next day, and the next video I post will get 58 views, and I'm like, well, fuck, I don't know. Like, you know, so the answer is all over the map. But there's so many nuances. I would say the simplest thing for your audience, if they want a direct improvement, is hashtags and keywords in the title and the description of the video, because that's what's going to decide which audience that YouTube explains it to, or sorry, exposes it to. And you'll see, like, people just upload stuff, and the upload process is so laborious that they're like, uh, this is where I went and did this, and they hit enter, and that's it. And if they took the time to write a 1 to 2 paragraph description of, this is what, let's see here. Okay, so we went and checked out the Lone Star Truck Show this weekend. It was great. All right. The only thing you've got in there is Lone Star Truck Show. If you put 2024 Lone Star Truck Show, Chevy, Dodge, what's the other one? Ford, extreme burnouts, whatever, in the title, and then you go on to write, we went to the 2024 truck show, we saw this Chevy, did this, we saw this Ford, we saw this Dodge truck, and you drop in Chevy truck, Ford truck, Dodge truck, or Chevy 1500, or Ford F-150, or Ford Raptor, or whatever it is, and you write a description about watching Ford Raptors and the 2024. You're getting things that people are actively searching for and actively watching on the platform. Nobody is going to go to the platform and type in, show me the truck show this weekend. So when you use truck show this weekend as your description, you get 0 views. But everybody's going to go and type in Lone Star Truck Fest 2024, enter. Oh, wow. And then you've got, 1991 lifted Chevy Silverado. And if you put that in the tag and in the description, when somebody on YouTube searches for a 94 Chevy Silverado doing something or other, there's a far better chance it's going to see your video. So you've really got 2 paragraphs, maybe even 3, that you can fill with the right terms and the right keywords. And it's not necessarily that people are searching for those terms and keywords, but they've watched videos that contain those terms and keywords. And so YouTube shows them yours and sees how they react. But if you don't have the terms and keywords in there, it can't show your video to people that watch similar content. And so, dude, I could do a whole day on video stuff, man. But that's probably enough for this show, right?
Well, you know what you mentioned. Thank you for reminding me that algorithms are just software. They're just bits of code, though they're written by humans, and I swear they're written to act just like Greek gods. They're fickle. They have emotions. They hold grudges. and and you've got to appease the algorithms. You got to sometimes even pay homage, sometimes bribe the platform to get that product out there. But then again, you got to play by the rules. And each platform has a different set of rules, but some of them are the same, right? You got to name it the right way to catch attention, and whatever the hook is in the video or the post, it's thumbnail or whatever. All these things play a factor in whether you're going to catch somebody's very short attention span. And I like how Grant Cardone puts it. Where what was it? Where the it's where the noise goes attention. Where attention goes, money flows, right? So you just got to catch the attention.
Yes, the attention goes, the energy flows. Yeah, and there's a lot you can do. The most important things, though, outside of the keywords and outside of the tags, is really asking yourself, who's going to be watching this, and how do I engage with them? And when you look at the algorithms, and when you look at the software, if you dig around, there's always instructions. Um, I used to, when I was a real estate agent, I used to get 5 times the amount of traffic on Zillow that any other agent could get. And I've got screenshots to back it up. We put it in the market and we crushed it on Zillow, and nobody could figure out how. And it was all because I went and read how Zillow algorithm works in Zillow's help section. And then I figured it out from there. And I mean, I could explain it, but I'd have to kill you. But dude, the rules are there, the instructions are there, it's all there, and most people just don't look, and they don't think to look, and that's the key. I started out and I said, how can I get more views than anyone else on Zillow? I said, well, shit, the first thing I need to know is understand exactly how Zillow ranks listings and how Zillow's algorithm works. And once I understood that, it was like fire. It was wonderful.
And Zillow puts the
So
rules right out there, huh?
the rules are all there. The best practices, you can find them. Even Facebook, they got best practices. Like Facebook, when you go into, I don't have my phone. When you go into creator mode on it, into professional mode, you go in there, and there are instructions for, here's what to do this week, here's what to do this week, here's how to get more of these, here's go click this invite button, try this topic, try that topic. It's all there. You just have to go into the professional dashboard and read through the instructions it gives you every week to grow your account. And some weeks I read it and some weeks I don't bother with it. It just depends what else I'm doing. But the instructions for everything are already out there. Anything you want to do, anything you want to understand, there's 2 ways to learn it. You either go find it and learn it yourself, or you pay an expert to compress that time for you. But the information is all there.
Although each platform is different, they're constantly changing the algorithm, the coding behind it, and they're trying to improve it. It's like my kids. As soon as they fall into a routine and I get used to it, they change it on me.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as especially as a internet based like business, that's just something that exists and something we have to work around and work through. I highly recommend people have audiences on more than one platform, and they also have a email list somewhere inside of a CRM, and they also have people's phone numbers as opposed to just Facebook Messenger, because as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, when one of those big services goes down, it can really affect our ability to do business. And so, a good warning is that even though most of your business should be on the internet, it should not be all on the internet and all at risk of being lost if you get an account banned. You know, they're quick to ban.
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing that I have learned uh, with the fudge business, especially when we were building our TikTok platform, is that quality will come, but get the quantity out there and even before quantity, consistency. Whatever the pattern is that you set out to do, whether it's a daily, twice daily, once a week, whatever, stick to that routine because the fickle algorithm, that's one of the rules. Don't
100%.
set a
Yeah.
schedule and show up to it. And and your customers, your audience base will appreciate it also. The quality will follow.
And it does, and far too many people get stuck on, I don't look good, I don't know what to say, blah 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 blah. The best advice I can give you is done is better than perfect, and you will never ever have a perfect video. Even in video production and shooting movies and all that stuff, you go through it and you're like, oh, we could change that, or that light doesn't look quite right, or whatever it is. Like, amateurs starting out on TikTok, just get out there and do it, because a skilled professional has to start as an unskilled amateur. So the quicker you start, the quicker you become skilled in it.
Well, for anybody starting a business or just trying to build a brand on social media, I definitely recommend. I'm sure you do too. Is get started and just start putting stuff out there and finding out what people are looking for, the customers are looking for, and start feeding that. I also heard from another a mentor of mine that when he's putting I think this was Facebook posts, he would set up 5 different categories for his posts, interest areas that he would post about. Things like flying, family, business, and whatever it was, but only one out of the 5. And he would post almost every single day, but he would rotate through these interest categories that he could talk about. Only one of them would actually be about inviting or engaging others in the business that he wanted to bring into the business.
Yeah, that's 100% how it works. He's entertaining, he's engaging, he's educating, and then about 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 times, he's saying, "Hey, come on, buy something from me." But he's giving the value first before he ever asks for anything in return, and that is absolutely how it works. And we have content tables like that. You make them as spreadsheets. They're almost like Super Bowl squares, and you just change the numbers on the side, and then you've got a whole new set of content. So yeah, it's a very very good system to have, is to build a content grid. Yes, absolutely.
Well, as we start to draw to an end, is there anything we haven't mentioned yet that we haven't covered that you think we should?
Ooh, um, man, I did want to say, you had asked me earlier um, about knowing whether being an entrepreneur was right. I think we were off the air. Maybe it was something, but something stuck in my mind, and especially after hearing your story the other day, and I did want to talk about the difference between how successful people view the world and how unsuccessful people view the world. And this is one of the most important lessons I think I can give. And you have to shovel dirt every single day as a man. There is always dirt needs shoveling. There's always a problem needs solving. And the unsuccessful man looks at his feet and looks at his shovel and says, "Damn, I got to shovel all this dirt before I can go home." And he spends all day looking at his feet shoveling the dirt. And the only difference between the unsuccessful man and the successful man is the successful man doesn't look at his feet, he looks up, and he looks up at his goals, and he sees the dirt in front of him, and he sees the goals beyond his dirt, and he says, "You're telling me all I got to do is move this dirt and I get to those goals? Give me that shovel and let's get to work." Same shovel, same dirt. One man sees the future, all the other man sees is the dirt. So that's why it's so important to focus on that goal or that future that you want to build, because all of life is hard work. Pick which hard work you want to do, pick which goals you want to go for, and go out there and work hard. And that's the secret to success. No magic button. It's just hard work focused on the things that you want.
One shovel full at a time, one step at a time.
That's it. That's it. There's no magic. Can't shortcut it, mate. No, you just got to move the shit.
I think, my son and I just finished reading that book, Holes.
Oh, I don't know that book. I haven't read that.
It's a good kids book, but um, all about digging holes. Anyways, has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I appreciate your time, Samuel. If somebody, enterprising entrepreneur, would like to get your services or find out more, where can they contact you? Where can they find out a little bit more about you?
Man, thank you so much for having me, Aaron. The easiest way to find me is to go to followsam.live. Of course, you can always find me at smallbusinesssurgeon.com too. However, I do have a free hangout group called the Surgeons Lounge. That's over on Facebook. There's a link to it on followsam.live. There's no charge. You just come hang out for free. I'm in there every Sunday doing live Q&As and just hanging out. So yeah, that's how to find me and how to get a hold of me.
Terrific. Well, I'll put those links in the show notes, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for reciprocating and joining me on my show and sharing your wealth of knowledge with the audience. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Aaron, it's been my pleasure, sir. I'm very blessed that we're friends. Thank you.